What is going on, everybody? Welcome into this week's episode of High Floor Football. My name is Sam Wagman. I am your host, and alongside me, as always, is my favorite co-host in the world, wearing another very nice, loud shirt. I think he said he's going to wear a Hawaiian shirt every single week for the rest of the off season. So I'm here to see it. Jay, what's going on tonight, man? How you doing?
Not too much. Yeah, I did make a promise. I was going to wear a Hawaiian shirt throughout the summertime, and I have a pretty big collection. I might have to grab a few more, but happy to be here. Happy to be on with Bo. We have communicated a lot over the past couple of years, but I've never actually gotten to, speak to you, in person, I guess, or virtually, whatever you want to call it. Scott Fish Bowl right around the corner, so I think it's, perfect time to do the mock and beneficial to us, beneficial to anybody watching. I mean, we're all going to get some practice, so.
I am so excited to be on High Floor for the first time. Long-time watcher, first-time visitor. I've heckled both of you mercilessly for the last few months, maybe even longer. And so it's great to chop it up here. Oh, hi, Ben.
Ben, it's Tuesday.
Yeah, Ben is a little bit off on the day calendar there. A Mean Girls reference, nonetheless, but a incorrect Mean Girls reference, unfortunately.
Stop trying to make fetch happen.
Yeah, exactly. Stop trying to make Wednesday happen, Ben.
It's not going to happen. But, boys, I am extremely excited that we get to do a Scott Fishbowl mock on this show because, look, July, one of the best times of year. Everyone starts getting into redraft. Jay and I have already been doing it for a few weeks, and now we both hopped. I've hopped in a bunch of mocks. I'm not sure about Jay himself, but and I know Bo has also hopped in a bunch of mocks. Look, we're all up here. We do this for the community. We're gonna share our strategies with you guys. We're gonna talk some July 4th memories as well. And, we're just going to get into it and talk some football, man. I mean, so what did you guys do for 4th of July as I go ahead and start this up?
I, did what I think a lot of people do. I was out there, I didn't personally grill, but I was at a, a location where there was some grilling going on. There was some barbecue going on. There was actually some pizzas in a, backyard pizza oven. So that's always good. Had some beers and, just kind of celebrated. I actually watched fireworks the night before at a different thing, so I didn't watch them last night, but yeah, just the typical stuff. Bo, my fellow Californian, what did you do?
So I had to make my pick there at 103.
Son of a gun.
Yes, and so we are underway. I got my pick today, so I was excited to switch from one that I was going to be shooting for. We found out we're going to do a random draw for our picks in the San Francisco live draft, but I spent all day yesterday grilling and barbecuing. I have 3 total barbecue cookers. I was using 2 of them at the same time, and I still had to kind of go in waves of cooking meat because we had way too much, and it was still a lot of fun. We had lots of fun. One of our neighbors' houses burnt down from illegal fireworks, so that was something I slept through because it happened at night, and my wife was up and she saw the flames from our house. It was like around the corner from us, but really unfortunate.
Yeah,
but pretty much everybody, it's a really close neighborhood. A lot of houses are really close together. There was still all kinds of illegal fireworks shows. And in California, we're on fire all the time. Everything's bone dry still or already. And it's really hard to justify shooting off mortars in a residential area because that's exactly what can happen.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I kind of went pretty chill with it. I have a tradition. I play golf typically every 4th of July, and I try to just hang out as much as I can this year. I usually go play golf and then go out on my buddy's boat, but we didn't go this year. So, we kind of just grilled, and I hung out with some family as well, and just had a nice relaxing time. And
how'd you play though, Sam?
I did not play well.
Shocker.
Yeah, Bo has been making fun of me because he says he can roll out of bed and shoot a 79. I don't believe him, but I'll make it.
I saw
You're about to time out. So are you going to make a pick today?
Yeah,
Bo
I
posted
think
a picture of him driving, or a video a couple weeks ago, and I mean the Cavs were on one that day, Bo. That's for sure.
Yeah,
So
I am one with the ground, as you
Yeah.
can tell.
I am gonna go
Mark
and
Andrews. There we go.
and I this isn't a pick that I wanted to make right now, and
He was
you know,
praying that somebody was going to let Kelsey fall to him.
yeah, and I'm hoping that someone, I think, I'm not sure if any of my my league mates are watching, but if they are, please let Kelsey fall to me. I'll make it worth your while. Look, I mean, this is an interesting spot. I mean, we all know that tight ends are, pretty valuable in this kind of format,
Very.
and obviously Kelsey is kind of the move there with his first downs that he's able to get, but Andrews is right behind him in that level, and I still think he's going to be a massive target. So this is Crystal is in our 109 group chat. I know she likes that, so shout out there.
Yeah, both the tight ends make
Craig
sense.
Reith is already on my shit list, by the way.
Yeah, of course he is. Because Craig loves Kyle Pitts.
I'm a little bummed.
Craig loves sniping Bo. That's what Craig.
Well, I will say that if Kyle Pitts had fell to me, I was going to take him because I am trying a strategy.
You're going to bully it up.
I'm trying a strategy. I like that elite tight end movement there, but instead I'm going to go with a safety pick here. And I kind of like this.
Boring.
Yeah, very boring. Very boring. I was going to go Brady if he fell. But, look, Russell Wilson was almost a consensus first-round pick last year with the Seahawks. And, look, this is a format that's kind of very kind to him. It's very good for a completion percentage. That's over 66%. And, Russell Wilson, arguably a very upgraded core this time. He's got a better offensive line in front of him, and the weapons are great. So I think that Russell Wilson is a very nice value pick if you wait till the 204 to take quarterback. And look, I mean, all the quarterbacks that went, we had 6 quarterbacks go there: Allen, Herbert, Mahomes, Murray, Lamar, and Burrow. If one of those guys doesn't fall to me, I'm perfectly okay swinging on tight end there.
Yeah,
and waiting for a quarterback.
I was a little bummed to see, Kelsey, Andrews, and Pitts go before my second pick. But part of my, Bo said they were doing random in his draft. I made 7 my preference, and, part of the thought process of that, you don't get as impacted by the third round reversal, kind of right in the middle. And I saw 7 as, with the quarterback situation now. I mean, you have Allen, Herbert, Mahomes, Kyler, Lamar, Burrow. At 7, you're almost guaranteed to get a Kyler, Burrow, Lamar, one of the 3. So that was kind of where I was at. With that placement. And so, got Waller coming back in the second round, so not so upset about it, but now there's been a run on quarterbacks with a lot of guys I was looking for. So we'll see how it goes in the third. Bo, you went with Kirk Cousins there in the second.
This is the kind of mock that I haven't seen yet, where you don't get the falling tight ends. Like some of the top 5 guys will fall if there's a quarterback run. Well, this one, like, nobody's touching running back, and that I don't think that's going to stand up in most drafts. From what I've seen, there's still enough inexperienced players in the field to take heavy running back or wide receiver early, even if they know the scoring settings. So I haven't seen this variation yet. So usually what I'm looking at is Pitts, Waller, or Kittle following to my second spot if I want to double up at tight end. Or if the tight ends go, I still have quarterbacks to choose from. Like I've been getting Aaron Rodgers at the end of the second pretty consistently, or Stafford, or even Dak Prescott. But in this particular one, I was kind of forced into getting an accurate quarterback with a new offensive coordinator that's more pass friendly. I would have taken Carr, but I think Cousins is going to consistently throw for 5 to 10 more touchdowns this year than Carr, because Carr does everything well except for throw touchdowns. The guy just cannot get in the end zone. And I just think that's for me, that's the smart pick, because I can come back and stack somebody like Irv Smith or KJ Osborne later, or even Thielen if I'm feeling frisky.
Mm-hmm.
I just got an Amber Alert that disrupted my my picking there. But anyways, this is pretty uncomfortable for me. the best quarterback on the board right now is probably Tua. And while
Gross.
that does interest me to a degree,
I actually think in this format, interestingly enough, Matt Ryan is, he's below Tua, he's below Justin Fields. The ceiling might not be as high, but he's a guy who I don't really think turns the ball over that much. I mean, I think Matt Ryan could still be decent in this format. I don't really touch him in Dynasty.
I'm going to try something here. I'm going to try something here.
Okay,
that's a good pick. I like that.
So this is, and I do want to talk about the 12 pick, but before we do, bully tight end, I said that I was going to be very interested in trying this out at the 109 because you see Kelsey slide there a lot of times when you don't have a tight end crazed maniac like Bo in your draft.
Yes.
Bully tight end is something that can be very, very what's the word I'm looking for? Advantageous in this format. And the reason it is, if you get two guys with game-breaking upside, and Kittle, make no mistake, even though he's the wide tight end 5 off the board, possesses probably the most game-breaking upside in the NFL at the position. It's just, you're relying on Trey Lance to come in and be an accurate guy. And there's, a couple schools of thought on that. I've been very vocal about how I feel about Trey Lance. I do think George Kittle in this format could be a cheat code with his yards after the catch and his ability to go for first downs almost at will there. So, I really like
great value. I mean, I considered him at the 2-6.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have come back to me in the third round, with you taking Kittle there. But I mean, Kittle and Waller, it's a tough decision. I ended up going with Waller, but I agree with everything you said about Kittle. So it's tough to watch him go a little bit further.
I like your tack there with Lamar and Fields. You got two running quarterbacks, and
better hope they run though. Well. You better hope they run.
And Bo has probably one of my favorite starts in this draft so far. It's nabbing Swift at that 310. Look, I mean Swift, not to spoil an article I'm writing, Swift is RB1 overall upside this year. So, he's a great pick there. And it'll be really interesting now.
This is where I'm going to lose you on this one. I'm going to lose you on this one.
Watch this.
I was like, you like my team? Watch this.
Watch this.
No, Tua's a good. You got Fournette there.
I like Fournette there, and that's an interesting one as well. So, I mean, my argument for waiting on running back is simple. You can get these anchor guys there, and they work out so well. So, if the guy I'm hoping for falls back to me, it's going to be nice.
Yeah. And Fields was a tough decision too. I mean, I know. Thank you for the compliment on it, but choosing between him, Tua, Lawrence. I mean, it was kind of a tough decision, but it was the rushing upside that kind of made me lean towards Fields. But in this sort of format, with the passing touchdowns and having to limit the turnovers, Fields and Lamar, might not be the best for it, but they still have the upside from their rushing ability. So, like Bo said, hopefully they run a lot.
Our boy Joe taking me there.
That was the surprise. I was hovering between Fournette and Jones, and I went with Fournette because I think they're going to ride him a lot more than they ride Jones because Dylan's right there with Jones in a 50-50 split this year. As good as they're both going to be, if I'm talking about this kind of scoring where it's really balanced across all the positions, is I can get away with volume. Yes, I can't get away with if a guy's going to fade down the stretch. I want to win in the second half of the year. And so Swift and Fournette both have like RB1 upside. They both were RB1s last year in points per game. So give me the guys who catch the ball quite a bit. They're both in the top 5 in routes run from the running back position. So you don't think of them. You think of Swift as a PPR back for sure, but you don't think of Fournette as one, even though he was the second most targeted running back in the NFL last year behind Austin Eckler. I mean, that goes without saying. We have to respect Fournette as the all-around back that he is, and of course with the touchdown upside. Oh, without Rojo there, they have a couple of scat backs. They have the rookie Rashad White, and they got Keyshawn Vaughn there still, and they don't have size other than Fournette. So guess who's going to get those battering ram inside the 5 runs all season long if he's healthy? Fournette's going to have humongous upside again this year.
And interestingly enough, I mean, a couple of years ago when Fournette also was a target hog, everyone tried to just say that was a one-off, that was an outlier season. And then he goes back and does it again. And now it's, well, what is the excuse? Maybe he just is, a better pass catcher than he's gotten credit for most
he's
of his
always
career.
been underrated despite being at the same time hyped up quite a bit at LSU.
Yeah,
because he was the number one high school prospect by a long shot. The difference is going to be for Fournette is even when he's hyped up, he's underrated because we haven't seen an all-around back like him. I mean, him and like Zeke a few years ago when they were at their peak of health and performance behind a good offensive line like this, you just can't slow them down because they do it all. You can't get them off the field. I'm sure they wanted to get Keyshawn Vaughn more reps last year. They wanted to get Ronald Jones more reps last year. But when Fournette's good at everything, why would you take him off the field?
Yeah. And I think it's interesting the kind of role that Rachaad White seems to play. I think that a lot of people are banking on him being a lot more involved than I think he's going to be. We do have a question here. Crystal asks, what are our thoughts on Trevor Lawrence? He obviously has not gone yet in this draft. And I'd like to think that Trevor Lawrence is going to improve. It's just, in this format, which penalizes you so much for interceptions and incompletions, I do think that we're going to see him slide a little bit. And I definitely think in a normal draft, you would see him go a lot earlier. What do you guys think on Trevor Lawrence?
I mean, I was considering Trevor Lawrence when I took Justin Fields. I mean, so that's kind of the tough part with these super flexes, when it's not dynasty and when it is just a super flexes, you make that decision. And now I look 2 rounds later and, I could have got an elite player at another position probably instead of getting my second quarterback as early. So, I think the Trevor Lawrence situation is interesting. I mean, I think we are, as a community, mostly giving him the benefit of the doubt after last year, which I think is fair given kind of what we saw happen. But it's still a data point. It's still something to consider that, there's a lot of progress to be made as much as, we might be giving him the benefit of the doubt. So, like I said,
me have it. You guys are just letting me have whoever I want right
They're
now.
giving it to him. They're giving it to him. I almost took Brees over Connor, but touchdown upside, better offense. Give me Connor. I've been saying all along, I want the anchor running backs in this, the guys that are going to, bruise and get you first downs. Brees Hall fits that to an absolute T. The guy's going to get probably around 250 carries in his first year. He should take that running role solidly away from Michael Carter. And I think the same thing about James Conner. He could go and have, 12 to 14 touchdowns again. It wouldn't.
He's going to need him. He's going to need him with his efficiency numbers being so bad. He needs all of those touchdowns, and that's why I'm afraid to draft him too far ahead of ADP. Even though he's a value, he's not quite as much of a value if he has any touchdown regression whatsoever.
Luckily, he's a value here. I've been targeting him in mocks at the 409 a ton, and getting him here at the 504 was a nice little drop on ADP. I actually was going to consider Javonte at 409. Kind of just went Keenan. I like the consistency there. And, I have one flex spot taken care of with game-breaking upside. I can afford to be a little safe and boring. My next problem is how do I attack my QB2 spot, which is not something I've really thought about in this since I've pretty much been a big QB early proponent. So, I mean, you just went Mac Jones. What's your view on kind of waiting to take your second QB there?
I could wait longer if I wanted. It was between him and Lawrence, and I felt like completion percentage playing a part in this. Mac Jones doesn't have to be special for me to get good solid points every week as my QB2. I'm going to get good weekly upside from Cousins in that O'Connell offense. So I'm not really afraid of quarterback being differential in this kind of scoring. I want touchdowns, and Mac Jones threw quite a few touchdowns last year just from being efficient. And his completion percentage was one of the highest for a rookie in history. I just think that if you're gonna give extra points for completion percentage over 66%, and you're gonna penalize mistakes, I don't care if he has crappy wide receivers. I just need the guy to give me positive points from the QB2 position. And I have other targets later on that I'll add on for depth, but I wanted to at least get a guy while he's there that I know can score positive points, because what'll kill you faster than anything in the Scott Fishbowl is if your quarterback has a bad week and you're looking at a -18 from your quarterback, you are screwed.
Yep. And Jay just took my guy. So
Dude, I've been
that.
kind of forced into the build that I was going for. I actually was hoping that Travis Etienne would make it back to me once he went. I was kind of thinking I would just take Antonio Gibson. He went the pick before me. I've been forced into a 0 RB strategy just based on the board, which I believe to an extent. I don't
Yeah,
I don't love
in
going
this format. This format. It's just so gross.
Believe me, I mean, last year in this format, I got absolutely burned by my running backs. I had Najee Harris, and then I had Travis Etienne, who got hurt before the season, Gus Edwards, who got hurt before the season, and Trey Sermon, who disappointed all of us. So right now, I'm just trying to take some of the best players available on the board, and I'm trying to build this team out, see how it works. This is what the mock drafts are for. See how it works if you try different strategies. And right now, I'm trying 0 RB kind of accidentally. So we'll see what happens.
Well, let me know if you guys think this is a reach.
Of course it is.
I'm not
about a round. I would say it's a round too early, but if you want him, you get him.
Yeah. I think, and I look, I considered I had another safety pick in mind for waiting on AJ Dillon, but I wasn't sure he was going to last 6 rounds. Look at the next 6 running backs here. You got Josh Jacobs, J.K. Dobbins, who might not play to start the season, Eli Mitchell, who's shaky at best in that San Francisco offense, Edwards-Helaire, Sanders, Damian Harris, Ken Walker. I mean, I don't want any of those guys.
Why do you think I wanted my 3 guys up at the top there?
And I think the guy in the 10 spot would have taken AJ Dillon over Dobbins there. So unfortunately, Craig went and took my safety pick and my, in Cortland Sutton, and both my QBs just went, but
he saved you there because I think Sutton's going to fall apart this year. I don't think he's anything this year.
We all know how you think about Cortland Sutton and what you think.
No, I think he's a solid player. He's going to have an up year from last year for sure, because you can't go down from that atrocity that offense was last year in Denver. But I think if we're going to play favorites on who the better wide receiver for that system is, it's a big thing. Yeah, it's a big thing in that system to have a versatile wide receiver to capture most of the volume, to be that basically it's like basketball where they ISO. And Devontae Adams was that guy because he's the best route runner in the NFL. Well, guess who's up there in separation metrics with the best route runners in the NFL? It's Jerry Jeudy. And although I don't think he's going to put forth as many big plays as Cortland Sutton, I think I think they're more even in a best ball format, because Sutton's going to have some big games for sure. But Jeudy, week over week, I think is just going to have some crazy volume come his way, and we know how good he is after the catch.
Yep, I can see it. I'm just I mean, we see the numbers, we make the numbers fit our narrative. But I did see a tweet this morning that referenced Gabe Davis and Jerry Jeudy's stat line over the last 2 seasons. They are very frighteningly similar.
Yeah, and look what Gabe Davis did it with Josh Allen at quarterback,
playing 20% of the snaps.
And yeah, exactly, because that's what he earned. He didn't earn jack shit. He literally was on the field with Emmanuel Sanders' corpse and couldn't win the job. What does that tell you? He was on the field with Cole Beasley, who just didn't want to play as long as nobody was. It was basically like, okay, we have all these players, and we have Gabriel Davis, and he's gonna have one huge game in the playoffs when nobody's playing fantasy football, and now all of a sudden he's amazing. No, he earned 20% of the snaps. That's what he got.
All right.
And so, yeah, give me the Jeudy guy who came back and literally made Cortland Sutton appear on milk cartons around Denver ever since he came back, even though, Judy's not good, though. He had a high ankle sprain. He came back and he wasn't good. Well, Sutton was even worse when Jeudy came back.
I do agree with that.
I mean, I'm not in disagreement of that, but I do think Davis is going to go out. Whatever way happens with Gabe Davis, he'll be one of the most missed on players that this industry has seen in a long time, no matter which way it swings. Because there's so many people on both sides of the aisle.
Oh no, I'm not saying he won't break out, because it's very possible. The guy's a hardworking kid that he's got all kinds of gifts, physical gifts. I don't know if he has the pedigree to break out like people are drafting him for right now, but my God, in that offense, somebody's going to have to break out. And if it's him, then we're never going to hear the end of it.
Not from me, you won't.
I appreciate you guys leaving this guy as my wide receiver 1.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I thought about him, 3 rounds ago. But I mean, Mike Williams, getting him as your wide receiver 1 in round 7, that is very nice. I've seen a couple. Yeah, I've seen a couple mocks where his floor seems to be 609, usually because I take him there. Let's talk about some of these.
My next guy.
Yeah, let's talk about some of these other guys. I mean, Rhett. Look, I don't know how well you guys know Rhett. He was an absolute stud in last year's Scott Fishbowl. I think he was one of the top 10 scorers in the entire thing.
And Lobo got me again.
Heck of a mock draft right now.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the 2 guys very top of my queue right there were Bateman and Moore. So thanks, Rhett and Lobo. You are dead to me.
They're
I'll
smart
go with
people.
The Slim Reaper here, my wide receiver 2.
Love it. Love it. You know.
I know you Birds fans up here above me are tickled to watch me take Devontae Smith in the eighth round. Devontae Smith.
Talk about underrated guys like we have been. Devontae Smith is getting brutalized by mock drafters.
The guy's just amazing on the field.
Yeah.
Just watch a sliver of film, guys.
I mean, Philly's going to pass a ton. It's going to be really interesting to see where their pass rate settles, but they're going to pass a ton.
Well, that's really the thing about it when you do. I mean, what Bo just said, watch it. And, when we watch Eagles games too, it's like, I mean, it was never Devontae Smith's fault. It was always, and that's why when AJ Brown got there and people are kind of downgrading Devontae so much. I get it. The passing volume, the offense isn't as high of a passing offense. At the same time, Devontae was really brought down by not having capable players on the opposite side of him. And there were times when Jalen Reagor didn't get off the line of scrimmage, and that changes everything for you. When you have a guy like AJ Brown, I mean, Allen Robinson was quoted saying it today with Cooper Kupp. I mean, he's like, when I look across the line and see Cooper Kupp there, I mean, I know that things are a little bit different. I know I have to do my job, and it's the same sort of thing, man. Devontae and AJ Brown are going to be a great combo together. It's not a detriment to Devontae that AJ Brown's there. I think it actually is going to open up some more things for him.
Yeah, I definitely see that. Our buddy Joe Pepe saying he hates his team. Oof, hate to see it.
Yeah. Whoops.
Well, I know 2 of my running backs are 2 of the most disliked guys at the running back position, and Josh Jacobs and CEH. But that had to happen. I went 0 RB for a little bit. Had to grab my 2 running backs. Josh Jacobs is someone that I'm kind of avoiding in dynasty at this point. But for one more season, we'll see what happens. I don't know if Zamir White's going to really make too much of an impact. Some of the pass catching, might be a problem with Bolden coming in and, Kenyon Drake healthy and all that. But I think the Raiders are going to be scoring a lot. So Josh Jacobs could be in the red zone pretty often. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire, man, I don't know. I mean, it took a little bit of time for his comp, Brian Westbrook, to get going. So maybe we can give Clyde some credit. It did, Bo. It did take Brian Westbrook some time. But Clyde also, there's context to these things. Clyde actually on a per game basis last year had a pretty good season. He just had the gallbladder thing. He came back, had some pretty good games, and then he got hurt. So if you actually look at it on a per game, what he was doing when he was healthy, it was pretty decent. So going 0 RB, getting him's good. I have 3 wide receivers that I think could be competing for being wide receiver 1s. So.
I thought Ben was going to snipe me. I was waiting on bated breath for him to take Gabe Davis, but he didn't.
He took Juju Smith. Hilarious.
The man, Gabe Davis, the holder of 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns, is my wide receiver too. that man is my wide receiver too. But getting him in round round 8 here is pretty good.
That's a fine spot for him.
Yeah.
That is not reaching for Gabe Davis, because if you're like me, you're drafting for upside only. You're not drafting in Scott Fishbowl to get into the playoffs. You're drafting because you want to have a chance to win the whole damn thing out of 3,000 people and say you did it, or at least be around long enough to say, hey, look how far I got in Scott Fishbowl, 3,000 people. Gabe Davis is the kind of player with that ceiling.
Yep. This is interesting here. So I got basically a choice between grabbing a flex RB because my running backs are not that strong, or another wide receiver, and I think I'm gonna go for some upside with this next pick and take the hulking behemoth himself.
Oh, that was God. I hate you so much because that's my plan here. If I don't get Kyle Pitts by some
You
Craig
have to go
Reith
Drake
involved
London.
sniping, I'm going to wait and get Drake London because I think there's two main guys in that whole passing offense that I want to even touch at all. Basically, that whole offense in general. I want two guys. It's Kyle Pitts, Drake London. There's nobody else I want on that team. And so I'm upset with you because that's the perfect spot. I had him queued up to go as my 9th round pick, and look at you just smashing.
I
my
wasn't
dream.
gonna take him at first, but he kind of just appeared at the top of my
Ooh.
queue there. And it kind of was nice.
Man.
I know Jay is a big Brandon Ayuk fan, and
I am at this point for sure. I mean, I
love
was just
Ayuk.
looking at him and I was like, this is a value at this point, and Ben knows that I also wanted him. So
Talk about
there we go.
disrespected.
yeah, the
The
problem
same
that
narrative.
But going off Bo's point, and speaking of upside and taking shots, more of a high risk, high reward, I'm going to take Treylon Burks there. And the idea that, maybe he does pop off. Maybe, all these narratives, maybe him not being able to get through camp, those sort of things, maybe it will be similar to Jamar Chase can't catch footballs, who knows? But it does give you that sort of upside. He's a play that, has like I said, high risk, high reward. I mean, there is some risk baked into him in general, but there's also a ton of reward if he hits.
Now, if they can get the ball in his hands, you're gonna see how special that kid is.
Mhm.
Like, just let the Titans get the ball in Treylon Burks' hands, and we're gonna have fireworks because that guy is special in the open field with the ball in his hands. Outside of that, I don't know if he's at NFL caliber yet, but I mean, if with the right makeup, you can coach any player with those physical gifts into be a great NFL player. I mean, look at AJ Brown. He wasn't really that much of a route runner at Ole Miss, and neither was DK Metcalf. But look at they work at it. They get better at it. These players all get better if they want to, and you kind of want to get shy away from the guys who have kind of plateaued already, and are kind of hitting in that dissension into okay, their skills are what they are. They're not going to get any better. Those are the kind of guys I'm avoiding in Scott Fishbowl because I want the risers. And so I'm also upset that Pee Wee took Garrett Wilson because if I don't get Elijah Moore, thanks to Lobo, I'm going to look to get Garrett Wilson around later. All right, so this one is going to be controversial, as always.
Oh, you are controversial, man.
you're a controversial guy. Ooh,
oh, nice.
A little bit early.
No, I
I
disagree.
don't necessarily think so. Yeah, I think he was the top tight end.
I want him over Knox and Gesicki by quite a margin because
so do
Knox
I.
and Gesicki aren't going to sniff 100 targets, and Cole Kmet's going to be a lock for 100 targets. He had 92 last year.
90 last year and no touchdowns.
I think more than it being a reach, it's a savvy move because you don't know that he's going to come back, and I think he was the most appealing tight end on the board. So I agree with you. I like him over Gesicki. I like him over Knox and over the alternatives. So, I mean, you get him there instead of, not getting him and feeling like.
There you go, Lobo. I got you back for Elijah earlier. Yeah, Lobo's mad because I sniped Kmet. So there you go. I wasn't too
I took
early.
my Damian Harris. I can't believe he fell this far.
He saved you from Damian. If you want a Patriots running, but you are asking for trouble drafting a Patriots running back.
God.
For all you know, one of these two rookies they drafted is going to be their
Sam is in
back.
a torture chamber right now.
No. For all we know, Damian Harris could be the running back 4 on the Patriots this next year. It's like that's just how bad that offense is going to be. I say that with Mac Jones as my QB too. Okay, Lobo took my pick that I was going to double up around the turn here, but I'm gonna raise him somebody who I think will be slightly better than Irv this year.
Interesting. I like this bold. Now that's not something we discuss enough. We talk all about the bully tight end build. Both Bo and I are doing it. But it's mostly thought of as an early strategy. So I think the later round bully strategy after you build your core is really interesting. And I think Bo is set with his wide receivers right now. He's got two one boom option and one safe option. And then he loads up with Komet and Freiermuth here. And I think that's a very good strategy. You got one guy that's going to catch touchdowns, Freiermuth, and Komet should be the target hog in that offense. So I think it's a great strategy. He already has Kelsey. So he's basically loading up on flex spots here. I love it.
Yeah, I think my wide receiver 3 spot is going to be a high upside guy a little bit later. And my tight ends are going to be my flexes all season long, because if you look at projected totals, if you look at floor weeks, your tight ends that are starting tight ends that are at least the second best option in their offense for catching passes, those guys are going to be volume driven all year long. Like even Freiermuth, I think, because I think the 2 wide receivers they drafted, Austin and Pickens, might have a little developmental curve, because a lot of wide receivers do have that, especially when the quarterback position's up in the air right now. So I think the safety blanket option for Pickett or Trubisky is going to be the tight end. Of course, Deontay is going to be open. He's always open. But I think Freiermuth is going to be a sleepy volume pick for me too, because this is an offense in flux, and I know that Freiermuth is at least the second most reliable guy, because I don't know how much they trust Claypool to step up and be a veteran leader on this team. And Deontay's, we know about his contract situation. It's like he's going to ball out this year because he wants to price out the Steelers.
Yeah, and the Steelers basically said that they were not going to pay Deontay.
Oh,
I saw a
we already
blurb
knew
come from that. That's why they drafted Pickens. Claypool's there. He's there for another season. I don't know if he gets a notable second contract as well. Deontay, they're just gonna feed Deontay, and Deontay's playing for a massive contract this year. I think he's gonna be in a great spot. I just realized it's my turn, and let's see.
I actually like what Ben has done at the 108. He gets Burrow and Dak to start, which is solid. His running backs are Cook and Montgomery, which at least puts him in a high upside situation at running back, kind of a safe floor situation too with those two. And then he's just pounded wide receiver for the last 5 picks, which DJ Moore, Hollywood Brown, Juju, Ayuk, Olave. All those guys have a ton of upside. They all have a ton of talent, so. And for the most part, they're in good offenses aside from DJ Moore, but he's kind of a lock for 140 plus targets.
I kind of hated the way I just went. I just kind of hated the way I just went. I kind of was in between a rock and a hard place. Not a lot of good options. There were 3 players I was considering there. Woods is by far the safest. The argument that I'm making over Treylon Burks is that Robert Woods is Robert Woods and has, if you count the track he was on before the injury, 4 straight seasons of wide receiver 2 mid production. And he's going to Ryan Tannehill, who doesn't have another option that he can trust. And as much as Treylon Burks is there, and he was drafted to be the A.J. Brown replacement, might take some time for him to get going there. So I played the odds and hoped that my guy did not get sniped on the back end, and I don't think he did. So Isaiah Spiller is going to be my RB3 here, and it is a guy that's going to take a little bit of complimentary work. And I don't know. In this kind of scenario, I took him over Devin Singletary, because while I do love Singletary and I think he's the main back for the Bills this year, I think Spiller has a ton of upside. We've seen Eckler have minor bumps and nicks and bruises over the past couple seasons. If Eckler goes down at all, for whatever reason, Spiller's the guy who's first in line to take over that massive. He's
the only one left at that point.
Yeah, the other ones.
They have bodies. They have bodies that just suck at football.
And there's just so much context to back that Isaiah Spiller, will have a role. He will. It'll be all up to him. They've been trying to fill this role for like 3+ years. So
they've been trying to fill it with crappy like
Sure, yeah, I don't disagree with that.
The people that follow college football are like, really him?
Well, that was
Josh
the funniest
Kelly?
part when Isaiah Spiller
Josh
got
Kelly
picked
didn't even look good against Pac-12 defenses.
That's what was funny when Isaiah Spiller got picked and everyone's like, yeah, well, still a 4th-round running back. And it's like, we're talking about Josh Kelly, Larry Roundtree, and Justin Jackson. I mean, we're not – these aren't world beaters that he's got to get ahead of. And clearly those guys didn't do enough or they wouldn't be –
I thought Roundtree would be a nice practice squad guy that could earn a roster spot. And he was drafted and started.
That's a good pick there. Russell Gage went a lot later than I think he should.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Who did Bo get now?
Yeah, so
Sky Moore. Another nice
receiver 3 with upside. Give me all the upside.
Dude, if I had to pick a team that I think is doing the best in this draft, I'm probably going with our boy Ralph, the Lobos, at the 102 slot. He's having a terrific draft. Getting Christian
Devontae,
Kirk.
Ceedee, and Deontay.
And getting Christian Kirk.
And Elijah. I couldn't care less about Christian Kirk.
And Etienne. I mean, he took Etienne right before he's going to come back.
He has a great team.
He was smart. He was wiser than I. I was thinking I shouldn't reach this far on Etienne. I think he's going to come back. I was wrong. He did not come back, and Lobos is getting the benefit from it.
All right. So more shenanigans, as you might have guessed from me. Are you ready for this?
Full of shenanigans.
Of course.
What do you got for us? Okay, a 4th tight end to the board, and someone that I was strongly considering for my 12th round pick right here. I like Albert.
You mentioned how gross the wide receiver position is because once the quarterback runs dry out, once the running backs kind of go, you're gonna see a huge run on all these. There's 50 wide receivers that could be a wide receiver 1 this year. You're going to see all those guys gonna go, and then you're going to see this little sliver of a tier where in this scoring, the tight end premium really comes into play. Like my weekly flex decisions between my wide receiver 4 flex and my tight end 3 flex, I'm going to prefer the tight end 9 out of 10 times because all they have to do is catch 4 or 5 passes, and they're going to way outscore the wide receiver option in that range.
Yep.
And these are all guys that are starting for their team. They're not running the slot. They're not coming off the field as wide receiver 2s or 3s for their team.
Something that surprises me is, we saw the quarterbacks kind of dry up a little bit. And I know we're down to the last dregs, but isn't it a little interesting that they just went and Jay took Jacoby Myers 2 spots in front of me? Because
I can't stop, and I won't stop drafting Jacoby Myers. You can't stop me. And if I don't get him, I take Kendrick Bourne, and you know it because I've said
I'd rather have Bourne.
I've sent you.
In this format, I'd rather have Myers. In this format, I think I would rather have Myers.
Why? But why? He has no upside whatsoever. Zero upside.
I mean, catches more passes, theoretically more first downs. Bourne only caught 55 passes.
If all the wide receivers here, and I know we just insulted the Patriots offense a couple rounds ago, but yes, you do have Mac Jones for a reason because clearly there's something there, although we expect it to be a low-scoring offense. Jacoby Myers, really, when you look at the wide receivers here, I mean, he is the only option, essentially, unless there's some stretches you could make, that could be the number 1 target in his offense, or essentially should be the number 1 target in his offense, albeit a low, maybe low volume, maybe low scoring passing offense. He is the number 1 man in town. So I'm a big Kendrick Bourne fan too, though, Bo. So, I mean, if I don't get one or the other. So,
yeah,
Sam, from my 25
best
ball drafts I sent you in the past couple of days is that every single one of them will have one of those too. I can't stop, man. I can't stop.
Yeah, I like them both. Tanyan's an interesting pick there. I also considered him. I'm having trouble pulling the trigger on these tight ends late. I don't know. I think I'm going to be better off kind of pulling the trigger on a 3rd tight end around the 10th or 11th round. I think that'll do it. The fact that Carson Wentz dropped all the way to 1209 is kind of nuts. Like when you think about it,
he's going to be a negative point maven in this format.
He's still going to have his spike weeks, though. I mean, he's got Terry McLaurin.
And then the rest of the weeks, he's going to lose you matchups. Your quarterback cannot lose you matchups in Scott
My
Fish.
QB3.
Yeah, that's fine. I'd still rather start an alternate player.
Massacred my boy.
Yeah, here's the deal. I'm not going to take a QB3 in this 14, 15, what are we doing, 14 rounds? I'm not going to take
15.
my third quarterback until later than this mock draft, because I might not even take a third quarterback at all, because for bye weeks, I'm better suited playing a different position like another tight end, because I can get positive points in a bye week for one of my quarterbacks and not have to worry about who I'm plugging in off the waiver wire or if I'm putting Carson Wentz on a bye week, I'm praying that he's not facing the Rams that week and he's looking at negative 15 points.
Yeah, it's possible. I had to choose between a rock and a hard place on this pick. I had two guys. I know one is going to be gone by the time he gets back to me because Bo and Jay are both to have 4 picks. So unfortunately, my next pick will be gone. I'm pretty sure you guys can guess who it is. He's sitting right up there, unfortunately. But we'll see. We'll see if he
I'm
goes.
going to go with another kind of upside pick here. I have a fun little, I'm always with the narrative. I've been kind of preaching this narrative. I've dropped it on Twitter a couple times in different places, kind of in replies to things. But I mean, Terry McLaurin's been holding out essentially, until he just signed his new contract, but nothing's happening right now. And Carson Wentz is new in town. Jahan Dotson is new in town, and they've been working together. And I don't think that it's that far-fetched to think that maybe there's some chemistry that's built. We brought up A.J. Brown a couple times here. I don't know if you guys remember, because it is just a weird thing that Tannehill was the QB2, A.J. Brown's rookie season in 2019. Mariota was supposed to be the starter. Tannehill was brought in, was supposed to be the backup. The second that A.J. Brown really got on the field a little bit later in the season, a couple weeks in, him and Tannehill were firing together because they were working together all offseason with the twos. So a little part of me, I expect Terry McLaurin to outproduce Jahan Dotson. I do. But I think that there is some chemistry there, and Jahan Dotson's a good player. So I think he might have gotten a little bit of a leg up on the guys behind McLaurin, the Curtis Samuels and some of those guys, because I think he's a talented player. So we're in the Scott Fish Bowl. We're trying to make upside picks. I'm trying to hit on some of these rookies that, might do better than we think.
Yep, totally fine. All right, no whammies. No whammies, Ryan. I need Ryan to not take my guy. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Ryan, for not taking my guy.
And my guy.
Your guy's as good as gone.
Yeah, I know he is.
I'm trying to think who it was. Oh,
yeah,
that's who it was.
Yeah. Of course.
I mean, I was considering the last pick too, but I was kind of, yeah.
I wanted Patrick. I wanted Patrick for the theoretical stack, but I knew he would be gone if I took Gainwell and vice versa.
I have a disgusting amount of exposure to Kenny Gainwell.
All three of us do. All three of us do.
It's crazy. He just sits there below,
we might be the three.
Tyler Algier, where it's like we don't even know if he's going to have a role yet. Kenny Gainwell.
These are the 3 heaviest people in the world on Kenny Gainwell.
Yeah, we might be the 3 heavy analysts on Kenny Gainwell. And
it's almost funny because I never don't get him. Because I feel like I'm always valuing him higher than everybody else, so it's just always like, all right, well, I'll just grab him here. I'll grab him.
I think I have 35 dynasty leagues, and he's in 68% of them.
Jesus, that's like Dude, 19 or 20.
I want to say he's in the 40% exposure.
Ralph took my tight ends. God dang it!
Because he's great, man.
Cameron Brate. I know the stats sucked last year when Gronk was out, but he's gonna be a top 12 guy. I'm sorry, he is. He just is. Yeah.
No.
He just is.
I'll pass.
Yeah, I know.
I haven't grabbed my second tight end yet, so I am waiting on somebody to come back. It wasn't necessarily on purpose not grabbing one, but
I like the Tolbert pick. Bo's got to be a homer for at least one pick in this draft, right? I like the Tolbert pick.
Especially a guy who's going to stick around, because I think he's going to have, by the time Gallup comes back, he's going to have a solidified role in a couple packages in the offense. And even as vanilla and insufferably bland as Kellen Moore is, he's gonna find spots for somebody as good as Jalen Tolbert, especially when they don't have any other wide receivers besides CeeDee Lamb that are worth a darn until Gallup comes back. So I think Jalen Tolbert is going to earn some extra targets early in the season just by necessity, and then going forward after that, I think he's a really safe pick to be a big part of that offense, to basically replace Amari Cooper, who really took a step back last year in his reception perception metrics, separation totals. He's never been a great route runner, anything other than narrative, Like you see him make these fancy, quick footwork moves, but as far as reception perception is concerned, he's never been more than above average. And he really took a huge step back from that last year. And so I think Tolbert has the chops to step into that Amari Cooper Z role in the Dallas offense and really take off with it.
Yeah.
Yep, I feel that.
I was hoping for my second tight end. I was waiting on Evan Ingram or Tyler Higbee. They both went before my pick. I ended up taking Austin Hooper, which, we've talked about the Titans a couple times now with, Treylon and Robert Woods. I unfortunately have two of the three. But even that being said, I mean, there's just not many other options for targets in that offense. Austin Hooper apparently, from some reports, is developing some good chemistry with Tannehill. So, again, just, kind of trying to grab that second tight end that has some upside. And we have seen Hooper do it before, albeit a couple of years ago. So I'm going to grab him here over some of the alternatives for a tight end too.
I think it's a little interesting, and I don't know how you guys feel about this. What are you guys, and I know Bo is the only one that actually has to take a kicker being in a live draft. What are your guys' thoughts on kickers for Scott Fishbowl? Are you drafting them? Whether you're drafting them or not, how many do you think you're going to need to start? I mean, with no negative points for kickers, they become a legitimate weekly flex option this year. So, what is there anyone really worth drafting? God dang it, Craig, after Justin Tucker, or is that really it?
I'll let Bo take that because I think that he probably has looked at it a little bit more now that he has to draft a kicker. So, what do you think?
So I do have to draft one. I'm probably going to push it off to the very end because there's so many late round guys that I really want to hammer home at wide receiver and running back because I'm going to load up on tight ends. That's kind of the strategy. Is I'm going to probably by the end of the 22 rounds, I'm going to have 7 or 8 tight ends on my roster. And at the end of the day, I'll probably save my kicker pick for somebody who's kind of in the middle of the pack with good upside, good leg strength that I can just trust, since I have to start one being on sleeper in the live draft. I just want a guy that it's not going to kill me. And so there's really no reason to reach for a good kicker, quote unquote, because we saw what happened last year when everybody went out and drafted Younghoe Koo. Because just because their ADP says they're the best kicker doesn't mean that they're going to score the most fantasy points at kicker. Your top kickers last year, besides Justin Tucker, were McPherson, who a lot of people just kind of threw in. What's his name from the Giants? Graham Gano, number 2 kicker. Just crazy production. Nick Folk, like the New York kickers had a heyday because their teams were awful. And those are kind of guys that I'm targeting where their offenses are good enough to get to the scoring position, but not good enough to punch it in. And I just want a guy that's going to have the most opportunities without negative points to at least give me some points. And I'm not going to draft more than one. I'm not going to start more than one because I'm not that kind of guy. I'm the kind of guy that goes more high risk, high reward because this is a tournament. It's a huge, huge tournament. And I'm going to treat it like it's DFS where I have to give myself the chance to win it all or just erupt into a pile of flames.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you definitely have to be different, and you have to get different to the fact where you're going to insulate yourself. So you can't be too different that you just lay it all out there in the line. You become, in a very precarious situation, like some people did. I mean, injuries strike; they happen to everybody. So you have to be safe, but you still have to go on a limb to win a 3,000 person tournament like this. Yes, you have to treat it like a GPP.
You want to hear a horror story about last year's Scott Fishbowl? And I actually, I tweeted it earlier with Ben because he tweeted his one from last year. So listen to some of these values I got and then how I got killed by the, guys getting hurt. So I got Mike Williams last year at wide receiver 49, which was unbelievable.
Beautiful.
I got Michael Pittman at wide receiver 40. I got Devin Singletary, who actually finished as an RB2 at RB 45. I got Kendrick Bourne at wide receiver 83, and he finished as a wide receiver 3. But those early picks, like you said, man, people get hurt. It was Travis Etienne, it was Trey Sermon, it was Gus Edwards. That's what killed me. So you do really have to pay attention to those late round picks because some of my late round picks were Tevin Coleman and Salvin Ahmed, who, when my running backs got hurt, they didn't help me. So you can have all these great values. Like I really don't think there's a better one than Mike Williams at pretty much wide receiver 50. I mean, he was a wide receiver 1. But
There's my stack. I got my stack.
all year, my wide receivers were great. It was awesome, but you still have to fill those 2 running back spots. So,
yeah, I mean, I think that the thing with Scott Fishbowl is you just have to find a medium in between the strategy that you go in with and the strategy that you come out with. You really have to be able to adjust on the fly, because even though you have these 10-hour clocks for the slow drafts, everything kind of flies by, and you really have to be prepared for things to go wrong at a moment's notice. It is by far, without a doubt, one of the toughest tournaments to game plan for, just because you have no idea what's going to happen. You're mixing fans with analysts. You're mixing people with radically different philosophies and ways of approaching fantasy football.
Well, and you have people in your drafts. I mean, like Bo just said, Bo said he might end up with 7, 8 tight ends. That's going to indirectly, he's doing it for himself, but that's going to, probably directly
he's going to be
screw up the other people.
Absolutely doing it to hoard scarce positions.
Sure.
Yeah,
and exactly. But I'm saying directly it's going to help you, and almost indirectly it's going to really screw over some other people that are hoping for a tight end to come back, being like, no, he's got 4, he's got 5.
That's exactly why I'm doing it.
Beautiful.
Exactly why I'm doing it.
That's what I'm saying, is you got to prepare for kind of the craziness to happen, because of the way that this format's set up. There are going to be people that have strategies like that.
It's a scarce position with premium scoring that you're not going to see this level of tight end premium scoring virtually anywhere else. There's no leagues out there that are going to form saying we love tight ends so much that we're going to give them this much value with the tight end, with the first down catches plus the half point PPR, the half PPR premium. This is all for the tight ends. And because it's so scarce, I'm loading up on as many starting tight ends that are in the top 2 target getters for their team as I possibly can, because the more I have, the fewer my opponents have, and the more they have to scramble to find some guy they can even start at that position.
Yeah, I think it's really important to keep a hold on how important tight end is to the success of this. I mean, it's notable that the guy who won last year, I think, had Noah Fant as his starting tight end, but it cannot hurt you to get lucky at tight end and have a game-breaking guy, multiple game-breaking guys. If everything breaks right, you need less things to break right if you have multiple elite tight ends, because they only can help you.
If you take enough shots, I had Noah Fant last year as my tight end 1, but I got Freiermuth at tight end 33, and he was the guy that I ended up playing, most of the season. So it's
right.
You got to take as many shots on both sides, a position of scarcity, and just, throw darts. It's a tight end outside that top 12, which I know we've talked about a million times. And I know, Sam, that's sort of your point about Cameron Brate is, at a certain point, it's like we're just throwing darts to see which one of these guys is going to hit. You can really only predict that, that top 5-ish to 10 range. But after that, it's so tough. So you got to just take as many shots as you can.
Yep. I'm not sure if I'm wrong. Coach Craig Sports says the guy that won had Mark Andrews. For some reason, I definitely had Noah Fant stuck in my head. In any case, that only helps my point. So
he also had Cooper Kupp and Deebo Samuel as his wide receivers 2 and 3. So I'm pretty sure he was doing okay from those picks.
Yeah, he did pretty well there. Let's see, we can pull it up right here. Isaac Seaborn was the guy that won. He had Mark Andrews, Zach Ertz, Cole Kmet, Foster Moreau, and Dalton Schultz.
Dalton Schultz, my God.
He had CeeDee Lamb,
beauty.
He had Christian Kirk, Jamar Chase, Antonio Brown, Visca, Cole Beasley, Eckler, Gainwell, Ronald Jones, Carter, Gio Bernard, and Joe Burrow, and Patrick Mahomes, and Tyler Huntley. So that Huntley thing definitely played a role at the end there. Yeah. Huge. This is a guy who, got lucky, not even got lucky. He loaded up on tight ends and it worked out. So
Zach Ertz is another example that I know, Sam, you're big on Zach Ertz for this year, but it's like, I don't think a lot of people were expecting Zach Ertz to kind of have a resurgence last year like he did. So getting him in this sort of format was, definitely beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely.
We didn't know he was going to get traded to Arizona.
True. Yeah.
No, but a great landing spot for him. I mean, look, with DeAndre Hopkins out, he becomes the de facto red zone weapon for the first 6 weeks of the year. Hollywood, I mean, he's going to be one of the more trusted pass catchers across the middle too. Hollywood is not someone you rely on to catch every pass. He's just, a breakaway down the field type of guy. And so, I mean, Ertz is going to be solid. I have ranked just inside my top 5 guys. I think he gets there, and I think he's going way too low right now. And he's going to be he's a prime target for the kind of strategy that both throughout with kind of the later bully tight end stack. I would love to have an Ertz and an Ertz Kelsey type of look to my roster.
Sure.
Guys that are going to catch a ton of first downs, but can also perform heavily in the red zone.
And I think to him too, there's a little bit of element of him dropping. We talked about it earlier. There's, people like us that are degenerates that have been drafting all year. There are people that are fans that are just kind of doing this. They love to participate in it. The Zach Ertz stigma is still there. There's still I thought he already fell off. Zach Ertz is older than he is. He's not really. I mean, I think he's 31 years old. But, there's kind of the stigma that Zach Ertz already plummeted, where now he is in a better situation. I mean, like you said, the DeAndre Hopkins stuff, there's so much context to kind of back what can be there for Zach Ertz and the opportunity that'll be there, but you benefit from kind of the name value working in a reverse way where, people are kind of already done with Zach Ertz and it's looking for the next guy where he's still going to be really productive in a really good offense. So.
Yep. But that's going to be it for this. Thank you guys for both coming on. Bo, appreciate you coming on. Why don't you go ahead and let everyone know where they can find you and the stuff you're working on right now.
All right. You can find me at Bo_McBigTime on Twitter. I'm a featured writer for Fantasy Pros, Team Riser Fall, Sports Gambling Podcast Network, and In Between Media. There's probably some others too out there. You can check the bio. They're all listed on that. I do DFS for Nibble with Numbers as well. So check me out on Twitter. That's where I live. I'm a creature of Twitter and Sleeper. Sleeper's if I had my notifications turned on Sleeper, my phone would die within 2 minutes. But it comes down to I just love writing about football, writing about golf, and then of course cooking. And I've developed my own website with Hotbox Gourmet hot sauce and 4 unique seasoning spice blends at BigTimeFlavor.co. So make sure you go to BigTimeFlavor.co and order up some amazing flavors from my company, Big Time Flavor Co.
Can confirm they're amazing. Used them on the ribs for 4th of July yesterday.
Oh, dear God. That sounds good.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, thank you again for tuning into this episode of High Floor Football. If you are in Scott Fishbowl and watching, best of luck in your drafts next week. And Jay and I will be back next Tuesday as we always are. My name is Sam Wagman. He is Jay Arsht. And we will see you guys on the flip side. Have a great night.